Hi, we are here today with Angelo Boholst, and I am so excited to speak to Angelo because he has had so many different roles in the senior residence industry. So I'm going to be asking Angelo today to tell me a little bit about what he's done, his experiences in working in various seniors residences, and hopefully be able to give us a bit of an idea of what the different seniors housing options are out there right now. So Angelo, maybe tell me a little bit about your background and what you've done so far.
Absolutely. First, I want to thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. My background, I'm a registered nurse. Been a nurse for over almost 27 years now. And currently I am working as a regional director of operations for ATL. I used to work as an executive director in long-term care, assisted living, and independent living. I am now in a position to look after several communities.
Perfect.
And so that's what I do.
Wonderful. Okay, so you mentioned you've worked in independent living and assisted living, long-term care. Can you tell us a little bit more about the differences then in the different types of seniors housing?
For sure. So independent living is a community or a residence for independent seniors.
Okay.
Wherein they move in there, they live in that building independently with some services.
Okay.
So there are types of housing out there for 55 and above, but they do everything themselves.
Okay.
They're strictly more of a tenants or renters, or if it's an ownership, then they own it. In a seniors independent community, it's there's more services into that, wherein people are there to provide housekeeping. There are some staff that would provide their laundry. And in addition to that, they also are participating with the social activities.
Okay.
And also, the most important thing is that they don't need to cook. They don't need to prepare their meals. They just go down into the restaurant,
Right.
and then have their meals. And so that's pretty much what independent is all about. They make their own decisions. They go about their days. They can leave the building and come back whenever they want to.
Okay.
Assisted living, on the other hand, is more of people who are still independent,
Okay.
but requires services like medication administration or assistance of their bathing or of their activities of daily living, but they are still capable of making decisions for themselves. They are not monitored 24/7, but it is more of a structured service that they would be getting. Long-term care, on the other hand, is for people who cannot do anything for themselves, and that they needed 24/7 care. So that is where the nurses, the care aides, and whatever staff members are there. So pretty much they are not able to do things for themselves anymore, and that is why they needed to be in a long-term care.
Okay. So let me just go back to what you were mentioning about independent living.
Yeah.
Because that sounds wonderful. It actually sounds like you're in like a resort or a cruise ship or something like that, where you have all these services and all these activities that you can be part of.
Correct.
What if I wanted to do my own cooking though? Is that possible?
It is very possible.
Okay.
Because independent living is a setup where the condo units are still like a functional condo units. Where you have your own full kitchen, you have your washer dryer, you have your laundry, you have your dishwasher and everything.
Okay.
You have an option to do it for you, for you do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You don't need assistance from anybody.
Okay.
The beauty of independent living is that you have a choice.
Right.
To do it yourselves or to let the people do it for you.
Right.
But in independent retirement residence is all about retirement. So when you retire, you work so hard for however many years and you deserve to be pampered. So why would you move into a retirement home and still do it for yourself? So you move into a retirement home just like in a resort, wherein people are there to provide all the services for you. All you have to do is enjoy your life, build new friendship, and enjoy your life that you deserve.
So Angelo, that all sounds wonderful. I like hearing the fact that seniors can have the option of cooking for themselves, do their own laundry, or being able to have someone else do it so that they maybe have the energy to do other things that they would love to do, whether it's going on, various excursions that they might have or different activities, right? So my question then is, why aren't as many seniors, I guess, taking advantage of all these different seniors residences, all these different options out there? Are there some misconceptions maybe about seniors residences?
Absolutely. A lot of people don't know what retirement living is all about. All they know when they hear about retirement or seniors home, that it is a nursing home.
Right.
And, nursing home has really a bad, for a lot of people over there, and people are not afraid and they don't want to even entertain the idea of a nursing home. That is why they don't want to discuss the potential or the
Right.
what senior living is all about.
Right.
And it's funny you ask that. It's because in my years in the seniors industry and managing retirement homes is that almost always the seniors, as soon as they moved in, they would tell me and say, "Why didn't it move this 2 years ago? Why nobody told me about this 3 years
Right.
ago? I should have moved in 3 years ago." And that is where the education is missing, because a
Absolutely.
lot of seniors really still think that retirement home is a senior's home, and there's a big
Right.
differences of that.
Right.
And the other reason as to why some seniors don't want to move in there, it's because they think that they would give up their independence. And
Yeah.
they would ask, so why is it a senior's independent if I'm giving up my independence? Well,
Right.
you're actually not giving up your independence. And you are there to socialize, to meet other people, and again, have those options to do it
Right.
themselves or let other people do it for them. And that does not, have a negative impact of their independence.
Right.
Right?
Right. No, absolutely. In fact, it frees you to do other things that you normally wouldn't do,
Correct.
right? For assisted living, you talked about people needing a little bit of care for medication, maybe grooming, bathing, things like that. Can you get assisted living in that type of seniors residence that you're talking about, that's like a hotel or a resort, and have all the different options available for them as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some seniors, as we grow old, we get sick or whatever the situation may be, that we end up in the hospital. And then when we return to the residence, is that
Right.
we needed a temporary care or assistance. And that is where the seniors residents are able to provide those assistance temporarily. Right?
Okay.
Because if you are going back to your own home and you don't have anybody to provide those services for you, then chances are is that you might the risk is too high.
Right.
You might fall, or you forget to take your medication and whatever that is prescribed when you were discharged to the hospital. So in a retirement home, in retirement independent living, is that if you need care or when you need care or assistance, you have that access.
Okay.
There are caregivers, there are nurses in that home that will provide those, whether it's a long-term or temporary, doesn't matter. That is not, those things are not available if you live independently in your own home.
Right. Absolutely. And so finally, you talked about what we call long-term care, or I guess what people think of when they think of nursing homes. But that's someone who really needs care 24/7. So we're talking about more like a hospital setting at that point. And you really need to have the doctors and nurses there to provide the care.
Correct. In long-term care, when seniors are not able to do things for themselves,
Yeah.
then they are high risk of self-neglect.
Of course, yeah.
And that is an abuse. So that's why people need to be in a long-term care for that very reason. We cannot let a senior live alone
Right.
and further deteriorate, because it will be a burden in the healthcare system. Because if they have some skin issues, or if they get malnourished, or whatever the cases may
Right.
be, they needed to be in a place where there are professionals that would do those things for them, so that they still live a dignified life.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So I guess as we're wrapping up, because you've come from working in all these different types of residences, maybe give our viewers a bit of an insider's tip if they're considering researching or looking for a seniors residence? What are the kind of things they should start to do or look for?
There are a lot of ways they can do, and given the situations wherein socialization is somewhat limited,
Right.
they can start searching about retirement living. What is retirement living? What is the differences between those three areas of care? And there's tons of information out there. It's just that first step of wanting to know what are the options out there. That doesn't mean that they need to move in right away.
Right.
But moving in itself is a very stressful situation. You need to plan ahead.
Right.
And with good planning, with good information, you make better decisions. It's not just about moving into a retirement home, but moving into the right retirement home, that where you can see yourself being part of that community.
Absolutely. I've actually heard that sometimes you can talk to the retirement residents and do a bit of a trial, right? Like maybe you stay there over a weekend and just meet the residents there. I think that's a really good idea, is starting to do your research early, because as we all know, I mean, the last thing you want to do is make decisions when something happens, right? Like you fall or you break your hip and then now you have to figure out where to go. You want to be able to plan ahead so you know what your options are and you can make an informed decision.
Correct. And even at our own retirement community is that we would invite seniors to have lunch with us, just to see around, just to see the other seniors having their meals, or just to get the feel whether or not they can see themselves living in that type of environment.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of retirement residents out there that would be willing, and ourselves, we are willing to, or even we invite people to live, a week, just to see if and when that's the time for them, or if it's the right place for them. And so there's a lot of retirement homes out there that would do that kind of thing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so just start to do your research on the internet and then reach out to people who can help you.
Yeah.
People in the residence. Okay. Thank you so much,
You're
Angelo.
welcome.
And I'd love to do this again with you.
Anytime.
All right. Thank you
you.
so much.